Can you explain a little bit more the black swans?
The black swans, epidemics, pandemics. We've got a taste of it in the Ebola in Liberia and West Africa, and how it was devastating to those people. Well, just imagine if one came to this country. You know, we think our CDC is so good and they'll detect things, but as you mentioned, Pastor, with the immigration issue, we aren't vetting people that come across our border. They're bringing all sorts of diseases, and there's a chance. You know, I don't know how big or how small, but there's a chance we could face a pandemic. We could easily see something like the European Union fall, the euro fall. That would cause the collapse of a major world currency, which would have ripple effects across all markets and all financial institutions. We could easily see, you know, something like a solar flare that could destroy all the electronics in the world, much like an EMP. An EMP is a real possibility here. You mentioned the satellite going over above the United States. Given what Iran, given what the Russians, frankly, are doing, there are things that are happening today that I go in here that, you know, you read a little about, but I go into a lot more detail. These are real threats. This isn't 20, 30 years ago. You know, what happened in the 1950s under Dwight Eisenhower? General Eisenhower says, you know, as the new president of the United States, we're facing 172 Russian divisions in Western Europe. They're going to invade, they're going to take over the world. Well, he said, we don't want to afford this to be able to fight against that. We can't match them man for man. So he started a nuclear arsenal. And it took the Russians 20 years to catch up. And that's what we call the offset one strategy. The offset two strategy, we tried to overcome their nuclear arsenal with technology. Cruise missiles, precision-guided things, stealth fighters, and so forth. Well, they have just now started to catch up on all of that. We are starting the third offset strategy now, and that blows my mind because these are the very things I talk about in future war. You know, the cyborg soldiers, certainly the cyber network.
What are you saying?
Cyborgs?
Yeah.
Part human, part machine.
Is that coming?
Yes.
Is that real?
Yes.
Are they working on that technology now?
Yes. Not just us, but the Chinese and the Russians. And it's a capability that started back, you know, and then that General Paul Gorman went to an organization, a secret organization that is called DARPA at the Pentagon, and he said, we need soldiers that can, you know, are no longer weaklings or fearful on the battlefield. So you start to mess with their bodies and you start to mess with their brains. And you can either do it robotically through artificial intelligence, or you can do it using the human and adding features to them. An exoskeleton, you can have a climatic system, you can give them automatic weapons that you think about and then they fire. We are working on all sorts of technologies. It's not just us, like I said. And the difference between us and them, it was brought up by the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs just a week ago. And he said, you know, I am concerned about the use of artificial intelligence because I want a human in the decision loop on whether or not they're going to kill somebody or something. And the Chinese and the Russians won't do that. We want to do that, but we're all working on the same technologies. So that technology is very real, and it is growing. And back, it looks like about a year and a half, we're going to come up with something called Talos, which is the first generation of the cyborg, which we are already working with the Special Operations Command. They're going to have some soldiers that will wear this outfit, that will give them capabilities to lift larger weights and to run much faster. And that's just the beginning, because we're going to eventually have, you know, ballistic capable, you know, taking a 50 caliber round in the chest and surviving. It will let off, you know, all sorts of things into the bloodstream in case you're wounded to stop the hemorrhaging. The list of things is very long, very capable, and very frightening.